Amid ongoing peace negotiations between the United States and Ukraine, an unexpected statement by a prominent member of President Donald Trump's own party sent shockwaves through the diplomatic community by challenging the terms under consideration for Ukraine's protection. On November 30, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham made headlines when he openly rejected the demands from Ukrainian officials that sought Western-backed security guarantees, opting instead to push for stricter conditions. Senator Graham's remarks came shortly after the release of an opinion piece by Zaluzhnyi, the former commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces, whose words have reignited widespread debate on the future of security in Eastern Europe and beyond. In the intense remarks, Lindsey Graham sharply criticized the security proposals laid out by Kyiv's ex-army chief, describing them as unreasonable and out of line with what the United States or its allies could realistically commit to on Ukraine's behalf. Graham's comments were delivered on the same day senior U.S. officials hosted key Ukrainian delegates in Florida, where both parties met face-to-face in hopes of charting actionable plans that could help secure lasting peace in the war-torn region. President Trump is also preparing to send his top negotiators to Russia for direct talks with President Vladimir Putin, targeting an ambitious roadmap for ending the devastating conflict that has unsettled global security for 3 years. The U.S. Senator sharply denounced the current Ukrainian requests by stating, and I quote, "I read with great interest the detailed opinion article by former Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Zaluzhnyi, who offered his own account of the Ukrainian conflict's tragic history and proposed a vision for what comes next. The summary of Russia's aggression against Ukraine was highly accurate, and the warning about what a bad deal could mean for both Ukraine and the wider world was equally persuasive. But, when it comes to the specific security guarantees suggested in the article, I believe they are far beyond what any reasonable agreement should include or what our allies would accept. It is essential that, especially at this critical juncture, any analysis that guides our next steps passes a realistic test and sticks to what the international community can actually deliver. The security guarantees discussed, such as the idea of NATO membership for Ukraine and the deployment of nuclear weapons on Ukrainian soil, remain unacceptable and, in my view, simply will not be supported by the United States or its partners."
Recently, former Commander-in-Chief Zaluzhnyi claimed that in order for Kyiv to feel truly secure, its future guarantees could involve joining NATO or even receiving nuclear arms for its defense, a stance that has intensified the conversation among military and political leaders. Zaluzhnyi set out his ideas in an op-ed published by The Telegraph on November 29, arguing a foreign military presence could be the only way to make certain Kyiv security needs are reliably met in the future. Many observers have noted that Zaluzhnyi's demands closely mirror the views of Ukraine's current president, Volodymyr Zelensky, who has repeatedly pressed for deeper integration with NATO and stronger defense commitments from global allies. Now serving as Kyiv's envoy to the United Kingdom, Zaluzhnyi is reportedly preparing for a presidential run, suggesting these hardline security positions may soon feature at the heart of Ukraine's political debate. Any push by Ukraine toward NATO, or even broaching nuclear deployment, risks crossing long-standing red lines laid down by Moscow, whose leadership has consistently condemned NATO's eastward expansion as an existential threat to Russian sovereignty. Russian President Vladimir Putin has called Ukraine's possible accession to NATO a national security threat and cited these very ambitions as a central reason for launching the war in the first place.
Russia has ruled out any scenario that involves foreign military forces operating inside Ukraine. Moscow stated such a move would push Russia into direct conflict with Western powers and dramatically escalate the crisis. The Kremlin remains firm in its demand for Kyiv to adopt a neutral status in any peace deal, seeking guarantees that would permanently keep NATO and Western armies out of Ukraine's territory. Russian officials have repeatedly warned that talks of nuclear rearmament within Ukraine raise the risk of a devastating global war, further intensifying an already volatile situation. Ukrainian leaders, meanwhile, continue to express regret over surrendering their Soviet-era nuclear arsenal in the early 1990s, pointing to that decision as a key vulnerability in the nation's current defense posture.
25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.
पच्चीस करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.